what about our economy? How is it going to cope? What's the dollar going to look like to the currency in the alliance territory after it balkanizes? Don't take us from frying pan into fire and things like that. Now, hypothetically, assuming that the alliance territory was a country, so I'm just using that for the purpose of this analysis, and the Sharia territory was another country and they split open, what will essentially happen to our GDP is we would go from having an approximately 400 billion economy. So GDP of the core north is 55 billion. Once the GDP of the alliance is 340 billion approximately. So therefore, you would have 14%, you will lose 14% of the economy, the core north, and you will hold 86% of the economy in the alliance territory. So these are the justifications that makes a very strong sense that if you look at the country as a cluster, there's a particular territory that is a dead weight, and that is the Sharia territory. It's literally a dead weight on the rest of the country. If you're able to break that dead weight and lift it economically, you can now start to build a country that will thrive. And if you look at 340 billion in closing, I want to just show you what 340 billion looks like in comparison to other economies. If you look at 340 billion, which is the GDP of the alliance territory, the alliance territory will be between the 35th, 36th, and 37th country. So that would essentially make us the 36th country, right? Because Denmark will go up to 35, Nigeria will live somewhere around here. Denmark will go up to 35, and then the alliance territory will come down in between Malaysia and Denmark, and before Singapore. So that tells you that, and it is a very close reality to some of the expectations people have of where we should be. In terms of, if you look at that compared to our GDP per capita, it starts to look a bit better. And it gives us a better opportunity to service the debt, service the loans, and all of that. A lot of these unproductive loans that are being taken by the government, they are being invested in failed electricity projects. We read all recently about Siemens complaining about pulling out of the electricity project that they are taking the loan for. Another classic example is the very unproductive railway that Nigeria is currently constructing from Kano to Niger, another country, investing over $400 million of money from the alliance territory into a region that does not generate anything, and investing $1.9 billion of money from that. More than 80% of this money comes from the alliance territory, and then they are going to cite it in more than 91% comes from the alliance territory, and they are going to cite it in a region that generates 9%. So these are the paradox of many failures, and these are the justifications why we must come together and repeal that fraudulent 1999 constitution and gain back sovereignty for our people. It's not just about the existential threats, about the killings, even from an economic perspective. It is the only way for us to move forward. We have a situation whereby we are currently existing on the relics of colonialism. We are existing on the relics of extractive institutions. And if you read the book from Daron Acemoglu, it says Why Nations Fail. It will tell you clearly that if you don't build inclusive institutions, you cannot grow your country. And Nigeria, as is currently filled with extractive institutions domiciled by feudalists and oligarchs from a particular region of the country. The only way for us to break the hegemony is for us to rebuild the 1999 constitution and break free. And then from there, we can start to build a new constitution through referendum, through plebiscites with the alliance territory for an economy that can work like it did in the 1950s. I yield the mic. Thank you very much.
Right. Hello. Thank you so much, Steve, for that information that you've provided. By the way, it's Gogo speaking. And just hearing from you just inspires me to be part of the Nina's Freedom Movement. And the reason I support this movement is I believe we can get to a place where we're free and we can get to a position where we're able to manage our own assets as a people and make sure that we don't have terrorists in our land, which is the major thing. I mean, that's the goal for all of this movement, is to get people free in the end. Sorry, someone's mic is on. I'm getting an interjection. So we're going to have Donald come talk to us about EndSARS, which is very interesting, and how...
Okay, Gogo, if you can hold on a second. Can everyone please mute their lines? Everyone, please mute your line.
I already muted the person.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Gogo, you can carry on. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so next will be Donald. Donald will talk to us about NSAS, and he would talk about the impact poverty had on the emergence of this highly charged and effective movement that we had seen in 2020. Thank you so much, Donald. I hand the mic over to you.
Thank you very much, Gogo. We all saw the movement, the protest, the NSAS protest. Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Okay. We all saw the movement, and so many people might have wondered, all these youths coming out, is it just for the sake of the police brutality? The SARS has always been there. Could it just be that? But when you look closer, you will see that it was not just about the police brutality. We had, there was a level of frustration that had been there. Because when you look at the unemployment rate in Nigeria, you see, when we have the police harassing people, the police will not go and be harassing people inside their offices if they are gainfully employed. And the police will not meet people that are dressed to go to the office in the Nigerian sense. Most of the people the police have been harassing are the younger generation, the youths. And the youths, they're about, I think the unemployment rate in Nigeria currently stands at about 28.6%. And that means that you have a whole lot of people that are not gainfully engaged to do things. And that translates to about 18.9 million Nigerian youths, according to the NBS. So when you have those kind of things, you also have the aggregation, because with this unemployment, you have a whole lot of poverty. The impact of poverty alone was enough to aggravate the young people to come out for this protest. So, and when you look at the demands that the youths gave, the 5 demands they gave, it was not totally centered around the police force and its establishment. It also had something to do with engaging the youths in gainfully engaging the youths in employment or even in government itself. So that also showed you that there was a yearn of the youths to participate one way or the other in things that will keep them busy. So the main focus was said to be police brutality. But when you look behind, when you look further, you will see that it had to do with unemployment. And aside that, you also have about 21.7 million Nigerians that are not gainfully employed. So when you do not have employment, you also have people trying to fit themselves in different positions that are not very satisfactory to them. So it's a combined effect, the unemployed and those that are not gainfully employed. It's a combined ripple effect in the society. And where is all these things coming from? It is because we have found ourselves in a situation where we have leaders that are not, there is no accountability. If there is no accountability, we find out that the government itself cannot fulfill one of its social responsibilities, that is providing employment to its citizens. So give and take. The current structure of Nigeria is going to keep us in this position until we realize why we have to take back our sovereignty and utilize it properly to be able to have leaders that we can actually hold accountable for the benefits that are supposed to be ours. I yield, Jean. Or Gogo, I'm done. Hello, Gogo.
Okay, I'm not sure if Gogo is still on with us because she was going to be on for a short period of time. And like I said, we've been having some issues. Gogo, are you still there? I see you there, but you need to unmute. Gogo, are you still there? Okay, we'll just give her a couple of minutes. Well, actually, a couple of seconds to see if she can unmute and join us. But thank you very much, Donald. That was really, really impactful. I mean, as you guys can see, we're talking about victims. And some of you might be wondering, you know, well, what does this topic have to do with victims? Well, as you see, as what Dee said, he talked about who's generating the revenue and who's getting the revenue. And next, we're going to be talking about the 90 million Nigerians living in poverty. With so much money coming in, how can we have that number in poverty? And it's not just the money that we're generating from the oil. You heard Dee. The amount of loans is insane. Insane. You know, and people will say, well, you know, the economy, you know, COVID. But what have you seen that the government has actually done in the country? Have you seen constant electricity as other African countries have achieved in the same time period? Have you seen good roads? How about hospitals? Oh, what about the money that was given years ago for the reforestation of the far north so that we don't have these Trojan cows? Do you guys know what the Trojan cows are? It's actually, I coined that from the Trojan horse that was used to defeat a people. In the Nigerian context, we have Trojan cows. How is it possible that human life and farms and homes are destroyed so that cows can live? Am I missing something? And by the way, Nigerians, indigenous Nigerians, yes, I'm looking at you directly. Why the hell are you still eating Fulani cows? Why are you eating the cows that you're paying for to buy the guns that are killing us? And they're not just intended killing us. We already know that. They're trying to take our land. We already know that they are working on taking that. The last number that I saw was that there was about 134,000 acres is already controlled by the herdsmen. Now, remember, that doesn't include the amount that they have in the far north. Are you listening? Stop eating cows, period. Just stop it. And save yourself and your people. But I digress. So again, that fraudulent constitution driving money from where it originates to a different place where it's being consumed. And they tell you, you wrote that constitution? Seriously? Come on, people. Anyone that talks to you about one Nigeria and we are indivisible and indivisible, ask them, how much money are you keeping from what you're getting in your state in the South or Middle Belt? Is that one Nigeria? As I said before, one Nigeria does not equal unitary Nigeria, because unitary Nigeria is apartheid Nigeria. It's a murderous Nigeria. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the 90 million. Oof. And when we talk about the 90 million, do you know that almost 50%, over 40 million are children between the age of 5 and 15? Let me let that sink in for a minute. 40 million indigenous Nigerians between the age of 5 and 15 living in poverty. Not just any kind of poverty, but abject poverty. Now I'm going to ask Honorable, we have a couple of videos that would speak a lot about what this is about. Do you have those videos queued up, Honorable?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so if we can have you show those videos, because I think, you know, sometimes we really need to be able to see so that we can feel the numbers. Go ahead, Honorable. Do you have it set up already on YouTube?
Yes, it's open.
Okay, because you were showing us your WhatsApp. So if you can go to your YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to exit the share and go, because I can see the YouTube up there. So see if you can go there from where you are. If not, you have to stop sharing and then select your YouTube because you selected your WhatsApp. Yeah, so when you go to share again, just look for the YouTube.
Okay.
And select that.
Okay. Go to the YouTube. This next confusion.
While Ogaraka is doing that, I want you guys to really think about the number of children that we're talking about. Ogaraka, you're still in WhatsApp. You need to go to, why don't you click on your YouTube where this is set up, and then go to your share. Then that way it would take you there directly. And if you haven't done so already, you can just go ahead and click the link to go to YouTube and skip the ads while I just talk for a minute.
Okay, let's go.
40 million children living in poverty, abject poverty. Do you know what that means? It means they don't have proper nutrition. And is that important? Guess what depends on proper nutrition to develop? The brain. Without proper nutrition, this imposed upon poverty is killing the minds of the future. It's not just killing their bodies. It is their minds. And why is that important? It is important because we know the intellectual horsepower of the people from the Middle Belt to the South. Now, if that intellectual horsepower is going to be diminished significantly by lack of the right nutrition, what do you think is going to happen to the future of the area? That's what we need to think about. Every time I feel like I am getting ready to just not do anything, it's just too much, this is too hard. It's 40 million children. 40 million. The brains are not being fed nutrition. What do you think is going to happen to the future? That is serious. Of the area. So Ogaraka, you need to go off of this YouTube and go to the other one. Like I am getting ready to just not do anything. So if you can go to the particular video, that would be awesome. Okay. So you just really have to remind yourself why you're doing this. And I'm not talking about passing along information on the platforms. I'm talking about that we need to be out and about talking about what's going on. When was the last time that you reached out to a newspaper, wherever you are around the world, to tell them, look, there's genocide going on in Nigeria. It's not genocide, not just a genocide of the body, but it is a genocide of the mind. 40 million children, over 40 million children in their developmental ages. been destroyed. The NAACP in America says the mind is a terrible thing to waste. When you start to waste that mind knowingly to conquer a people, I'm afraid, to me, that is war. So have you taken the time to be on Twitter? Have you taken the time to tell somebody? Send a letter to the EU, the OAU, ECOWAS, NATO, the UK Parliament, the UK House of Lords. The more of us that speak, when you add your voice, when we get your voice out there, people will hear. A handful of people cannot be heard because of the stampede of the propaganda and the misinformation that is going out there. 1 million of us, even 100,000 of us on Twitter, sending messages to the CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, NBC, Wall Street Journal, Times of Israel, Irish Times, name it, anywhere, does the trick, and it becomes a George Floyd moment. So the reason we're doing this again, so that we can all really feel what's going on. And I'm going to check with you again, Ogarako, and see if you've been able to queue up those videos. You can let me know if you've been able to queue those up. Donald, are you in a place where you can play the videos?
Okay, I'll just hold on to that while we wait for Ogarako. Let me put up something in between.
Yeah, I was just checking to see if you're at a place to do so. Ogarako, I can't see you anymore. Are you still out there? Not sure, because I know he was having a little bit of a issue previously. Let me just check and see if he's still out there with us. Okay, so it looks like he got bounced out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and get started with the question and answer session. And once Donald is ready, before we end,
I'm ready.
Oh, you are ready. Okay, but I need to send you the videos that you need to show. I know there was a video that you wanted to show. I'm not really sure what the subject was on the video, but if you want to go ahead and get started with that, that's fine. And then I'll send you this too. That we need to show that talks about the poverty. Okay, so go ahead and get showing the one that you want to.
It's just to give us a general overview about Venus and why we have to do what we're doing, getting the people power.
Yeah, after my powerful speech about the children. Yeah. Just kidding. You can go ahead and show that, and then you can show the poverty information. That would be fantastic. And then check your WhatsApp, because I sent you the 2 YouTube topics where you should please go to and queue it up.
Okay, I check.
You sabi some of the serious problem of the 1999 Constitution, aside say we the country people no follow make am. I reason say you no sabi. NINAS reject this 1999 Constitution as a necessary thing for unitary Nigeria because as it be so, this Constitution no be the country people make am. This 1999 Constitution na the source of our wahala, and if we want arrange this wahala for list, we go reason and reach schools, hospitals, roads, unemployment, police and armed force brutality, and other wahala where if we won't start to talk, they go fit break. Some obunge wahala where this Constitution don't cause now, Fulani herdsmen terrorism and their partner Boko Haram, where don't make over 105,000 country people kick bucket when them never bring come justice. Electricity wahala, as it be say, na federal government they control electricity generation, and so even though various state for the country fit provide electricity, government no gree at all make them do so. This matter dey under the 68 item exclusive list. Corruption wey dem don make as better thing for inside the constitution under section 6 subsection 6c and subsection 6d, section 81 and 82, section 121 and 122 and section 308. The rich people don't separate from the poor people. So because of this, nobody fit enforce federal character because the court no dey wan hear any case about this matter. Poverty don full ground. As most of the money wey our country dey make, over 80% dey go politicians' pocket and the rest dey enter infrastructure. Now country people no get joy. This na the reason wey make Nigeria be grandfathers of poverty all over the world. For inside this 1999 constitution, for chapter 2, some ogbonge benefits and rights dey for the country people, but them no fit enforce them because another section for the same 1999 constitution turn this right to privilege. The section wey disqualify this rights and benefits na section 6 subsection 6c. You fit go check am during your spare time. You sabi say chapter 2 of this Yamayama constitution provide all these better benefits to country people. But for chapter 1 under section 6 subsection 6c, it talks say court no fit take any case to enforce any of these benefits. This means say the country people no get right to those benefits. They only fit give us wetin they wan give us. Make you try check am when you dey free. Democracy na government by the people and for the people. But this Yamayama 1999 constitution don't make democracy as government by the government and for the government. Federal and state governments supposed to care for the country people. Then explain wetin this section they do for inside this 1999 constitution. Section 6 subsection 6c. Remove all country people rights. Section 6 subsection 6d. Provide way for all crime where they lead to mass corruption. Section 81 and 82. Provide exemption way for the presido. Section 121 and 122. Also provide exemption way for the governors them. And section 308 way block legal proceedings. Make I shock you. You sabi say the ogbonge federal government no fit provide security because security na one of the items on the 68 item exclusive list. So yarn me, how you won't come take continue with this kind mago federal government security? She now una don't see why the Fulani headsmen they do their operation without punishment. This now one of the issues wey make Nina's constitutional force major come out to carry change come. Nina's first constitutional major may be like the way federal government and other take pen am. Now about correction and the will of the country people. Nina's constitutional force major now about bringing back the power where the people been get to decide their right to political, cultural and economic future as the United Nations Charter be allowed. Make I still yarn you about this matter. You sabi say this 1999 constitution still our sovereignty when it lie for in preamble say, and I quote, "We the people do hereby make and give to ourselves the following constitution." By this statement, the document where the 42 people write for Abdusalami military regime for 1999 still we country people sovereignty, our rights to decide our future, economically, politically, culturally, and otherwise. Them surrender as penalty our assets, and I make oil producing states like Abia, Imo, and Bayelsa. They get less money than states like Kano, where no they produce oil at all. You been also sabi say this 1999 constitution provide backings for all the wuruwuru wey Fulani headsmen they do for this Nina's area. Make we let this sleeping dog lie. You sabi say, by virtue of section 6 subsection 6c, we no fit hold the government responsible for our insecurity, corruption, poverty, bad roads, rotty educational system and facilities, high petrol price. You sabi say the section say government get the freedom to do wetin dem feel say make sense for them, even if e dey match on top the rights of the country people. You sabi say this section na the major source of corruption and unaccountability for Nigeria. You also sabi say by virtue of this 1999 constitution, government fit decide to take your forefathers' land when dem wan take am, as the law take support am. E shock you? Dem get mind talk say na state dey control the land, but e allow governors wey government elect to give our land to the federal government. Na im make we get problem with open grazing and ruga. If to say politicians care about the people, they for support the total end of this yamayama 1999 constitution, but dem go gree? They no fit gree at all, because na the plan to enrich them when they make the country people poor. Now make we the indigenous nationality of the southern and middle belts that stand up, work with Ninas so that we fit achieve the total withdrawal of the 1999 constitution for our own good. Now, make I ask you this question. We fit count on you to support the ending of this 1999 so-called constitution and for us to go to referendum?
Okay, thank you, Donald. And as you guys heard at the end, there's talking about where the money is going. You know, we're going to see a couple of videos that talks about the poverty. And in fact, Donald, let's just do the first one so that we can move on to the question and answer. But yeah, the politicians. And that's why Ninas is saying no 2023 elections under that fraudulent 1999 constitution. We're not talking about boycott. We're talking about stop. Right now we're going around talking to the political class and letting them know they are part of the problem. They may not have known it before, but they definitely know it now because we're showing it to them. And after we take a look at that video that talks about the poverty, we'll talk about, can the governing elite say that they are not benefiting from Nigeria, that they are suffering like the rest of us? We'll take a look at that soon. So Donald, whenever you're ready, please go ahead and show the first video. And on that one, if you want to just stop at 3 minutes. Are you ready, Donald? You are not, you are muted, so if you want to unmute. You need to unmute if you're going to be saying anything. There you go.
According to the World Poverty Clock, extreme poverty is on the rise in Africa's most populated country. In June 2018, the country overtook India in the global extreme poverty ranking.
Okay, Donald, is it frozen at your end?
The government refused a proposal.
Salah is just one of the 86.9 million or 50% of Nigeria's population that the World Poverty Clock says are living in extreme poverty. Jasola and her husband, a bus driver, have 3 children.
After we take out money for our food, pay the children's school fees and all the suppliers we buy supplies from, there is nothing left to save, not even 500 naira.
Go home or you join us.
Nigeria's Labour Congress has spent recent months trying to get the country's government to increase the minimum wage, which is currently 18,000 naira, an equivalent of $58 US. The labor unions are now asking for a baseline of 30,000 naira, $98 US, after the government refused their initial request of 50,000 naira, $164. To put it in perspective, a sack of rice, one of Nigeria's staples, cost about 18,000 naira. That's an equivalent of $58. A Nigerian senator caused an outcry when he revealed last year that some lawmakers received about 13 million naira, an equivalent of $37,500 each month, to spend on personal expenses. 35-year-old Awuna Godwin lives in the capital, Abuja, and has worked with the civil service for about 8 years. He says he currently takes home more than the minimum, but that he can't afford to properly stock his larder.
Considering the plight of states, of workers in the country, especially the local government staff, state government staff, it should not be a thing of debate over this increment. We expect the government to push up and bring up a tangible increment.
Analysts say poverty in Africa is increasingly concentrated in a few countries, which also have some of the fastest growing populations in the world. They project that by 2050, more than 40% of the world's extremely poor people will live in just 2 countries, Democratic Republic of the Congo and Nigeria.
5 suspects have appeared in court in Kenya's capital, Nairobi, in connection with Tuesday.
There are 3 minutes. We can end, please.
Director of Public Prosecution says they are still.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much. As you guys can see, $58. And by the way, that was done when the dollar was 361 naira to a dollar. Now it's 570, almost 600. Right? We're talking about 30,000 naira a month. So now I ask you the question, can the Nigerian politicians say that he is suffering along with everyone else? Can they say that? Well, let's just take a look at an article that was shared out a little bit ago, so that you can see what is actually going on. Right? So here is this article that did a really brilliant job of talking about what in the heck is happening to the money. Nigerian lawmakers are eating the fat of the land. I'm not really sure why this is gone rogue, but it says that they're eating the fat of the land. They're eating the country's wealth with insane allowances. Insane allowances. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at a senator. There is, 109 of them? And at the last article that I saw that was estimating how much that they are getting, it said something like, are you ready? Is everyone sitting down? $600,000 a year. Did you hear that again? $600,000 a year. That's what, $50,000 a month. And a Nigerian family cannot have a minimum wage of 50,000 naira, which is about, $100, less than $100 a month. 109 people taking that amount of money, which once aggregated with all the other governing elites, make up over 80% of the money that's coming into Nigeria. 80%. Going to a handful of people, while 90 million are in poverty. And the country has retreated, have not progressed. It has retreated to worse than what it was even just 30 years ago. That's what we have. So you guys need to just keep that in mind. It is important for us to understand what's going on in our country by letting everyone see the numbers, see the impact, feel the impact. Because that's what gets our people activated. That's what gets our people up and moving and say, no, we cannot take this. We've got to make a change. We have to take down that constitution. We have to stop that election, and we must go to the needness referendum. So the will of the people will be reestablished. I hope you will think about that carefully. So let's go to the question and answer. You have about a minute to ask your question. And please just raise your hand. And I see Modupe and Donald, you can help to moderate here as well. So Modupe Adebayo, go ahead and ask a question. If you want to ask a question, raise your hands and we'll call on you. And we're going to take as many as we can take before we kind of go over what we all need to be doing to make this happen. And then we will close. Modupe, go ahead.
Yes. Hey, thank you, Jean. Actually, overall, this has been a very, very informative session. All the presentations have been very impressive, especially the very first presenter. I do have a question with regards to that presentation, which I think was really very awesome presentation. I know that in there, it actually highlighted for us how the bad economic management, the bad management of the economy, and also, whether, known or unknown, and the fact that we have laggards in the Sharia states that are pulling us back. Mm-hmm. But there's a recent interview by the former governor of Lagos State, Raji Fashola, and current petroleum minister. He said that he tried to rationalize the reason why they are borrowing so much money. He said that they're doing that for the benefits of the future generation. I'm not an economic. I'm not an economist or an economic major, but it is common sense that when you're borrowing, it means that it means that your finances are not in order. So can the presenter help us understand if remotely there is some kind of truth to what this minister said, or it's just blatant lies as we are being exposed to every day by this administration? Thank you.
Dapo, can you unmute and answer that question? Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think it would be easier if, again, in my typical tradition, I'll explain this using slides. So Donald, please forgive me. Go ahead, please. Let's go back to the slides, shall we? Now, what we're going to talk about is we're going to look at infrastructure stagnation, and then we're going to look at, I'll see if I can maybe unshare my screen, and then I'll look for a particular slide, and we're going to talk about we're going to compare Nigeria in terms of what they're currently doing with some other countries, and it will speak to two problems. It will speak to policing, and it will speak to education. So, but it will speak to policing, and it will speak to healthcare. So, but before we do that, let's talk about. So we hear a lot of things that we are borrowing, and the question is, how is this borrowing? How has it transited into changes? Can we begin to see changes in like the economy, and can we begin to then say that the borrowing is justified? Between you and I, there's no justification for the borrowing, not especially when the whole economy is we continue to experience for the third year, despite the aggressive spending, we continue to experience slow growth in the economy. And the simple reason is that anybody that studied economics for a year, 4 years, can easily tell you that if your country is going to have any kind of economic growth, they need to control population growth and control inflation. What we're currently experiencing is the worst series of inflation series that we've experienced in our economic data. So what we're seeing now is 14% year-on-year GDP growth rate. And a lot of people might not understand what that 14% inflation growth is, but they do understand when you tell them that a bag of rice used to be 7.5 and now it is 21,000. A kilo of chicken used to be 800, 1,000, now is 1,006. They can understand it. So that is, in simple terms, inflation. Secondly, our population growth is absolutely out of the charts. Just to put it in perspective, we're projected to be we're projected to triple our population to somewhere around 896 million in 2100. So essentially what that tells us is that the borrowing makes no sense. But of course, if you want to understand it better, let us compare our roads. They'll tell you that they are borrowing to fix the roads. Clearly, we're not seeing that impact unlike other countries. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take, and I don't want you to think of Nigeria in isolation. I could have compared Nigeria with Singapore, with Taiwan, with Turkey, Denmark. It will make it look like the situation is really bad. But I think when I compare with African countries, then you can connect the dots on your own. So let us look at Ethiopia and South Africa, and then Nigeria. And we're going to compare road networks. So when people tell you, oh, we're borrowing to fix the road, we're investing in rail, we're investing in this, and then you can compare with other countries that don't even have the kind of debt profile we have and what they're able to achieve in their country. If we look at electric rail, for instance, Ethiopia has 1,401 kilometers of electric rail. Compare that with South Africa that has 8,200 kilometers of electric rail. Now compare that with Nigeria that has 186 kilometers of electric rail. You can see clearly that whatever borrowing they are borrowing, it's not getting to the ground. The infrastructure doesn't make sense. It's not connecting. The second part of it is when people tell you that, look at our road network, for instance, they are borrowing and they are looting it. Ethiopia borrowed $50 billion in 2002, and they invested every single one of that money into road network, and they grew their third road. Between 2002 and 2009, they grew from 33,297 kilometers of third road to 144,391 kilometers of third road. So they grew their third road by almost 110,000 kilometers of third road in space of 7 years, simply by focusing that borrowing on third road. Now look at, for instance, Abacha looted $5 billion, just one person. If you look at it in Nigeria, we only have 60,000 third road, 60,000 approximate third road. Compare that with Ethiopia that has 144,000, and then compare that with South Africa that has 267,000. So South Africa has 4 times the third road of Nigeria, and Ethiopia has almost twice the third road of Nigeria. To put it in perspective, these are countries that have essentially smaller GDPs than Nigeria, smaller economies than Nigeria, yet they actually have more third road, more infrastructure, more rail networks. So the question to you then is, or the answer simply is that whatever they claim to be borrowing, just like the slides I've showed you, that they're investing more of it on recurrent expenditure and less of it on what they call it, infrastructure.
Infrastructure,
so on salaries, and that is essentially why we seem to be having that problem. So they're not investing it on capital expenditure, they're investing it on recurrent expenditure, and that's therein lies the problem. Now you cannot continue to borrow, invest in phantom projects, skyrocket the exchange rates, print money, cost inflation. It's never going to grow your economy, and that is the simple thing you have to understand. That is why the only time we've been able to have significant economic growth in the country was in the first and second regime of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as Minister of Finance. When she paid off the debt, she understood that we cannot continue to make money and spend 98% of it servicing debt. I don't want us to think of Nigeria like a very complicated business, because when the politicians, when they want to make you confused, they speak a lot of very complicated terms to make it look like the problem is they are doing their absolute best. And the truth is they are not. It just makes no sense for you to have so much debt and you have so much infrastructure gap. You are not fixing the gap. Almost all the revenue you are making, you're spending it servicing debt. The exchange rate is going up. Inflation is consistent. And on top of that, population control is nowhere in the conversation. Countries that go through this kind of problems.
You could start wrapping up, please, Dako.
They talk about population control. So yes, there's a lot of challenges. The borrowing does not reflect in anything infrastructure, and it's not reflecting anything debt service. Everything that we're borrowing, we're literally looting it, and the politicians are looting it, and they are claiming that they are implementing projects. The projects are extremely inflated. If you look at, for example, let me just
wrapping up, please, Dako.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll yield for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We just want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity. But at the end of the day, is this going to the people or to be used, as he said, for infrastructure for the people? Answer is no, it isn't. But the people are going to be saddled with paying back these loans. They're going to be saddled with paying back these loans. And during the political session, you know, the politicians come with 2,000, 10,000, so you can vote for them. And that's every 4 years, right? So you're worth anywhere from 500 naira a year to 2,500 naira a year, where they make off with hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. We have Honorable John Augustus. And Donald, feel free to please handle the question and answer. That would be great. And I do see you, Stephen, but John Augustus came up before you did.
Oh, okay. I just want to give you.
Yeah, we're taking it in order. It actually brings people up in order.
That is fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for giving me way to speak. To be honest, I have a question and I have a little expression, and I have a question. You see, when I'm looking at all these things and I'm hearing, to be honest, this is something that can incite, or what we are hearing is something that can motivate or incite somebody to go and do something, which will not give good results. Because why? And one thing I want to say in this occasion is that it's like we don't know the type of people we are dealing with. First of all, right from 1960, there is a chain that is bound, that is still recurrent up to today. We as Ninas, we said this is the way we want to do it. The people who are called Ninas, majority of them are incorporated into this chain, and they will not want that chain to break. That is why they are recycling themselves to be there. On election, they will be the same. Somebody from senator will become a president.
Governor. They will become governor.
They become governor. From there, they
earn their salary as governor and their pension.
They are the same people who are recycling themselves. And this thing is frustrating. It's a cycle that we need to break if we can. And this is the time to break that cycle. Majority of them, like for instance, I work with the Fulani and Hausas for more than 12 years in Nigeria Port Authority as a transporter. These people doesn't believe in all these calculations, all this. No, they don't know about accountability. Move with them, work with them. You will only know that the avenue they are looking for is what they have got now, to be in charge of signing the check. They don't have accountability. They don't believe in all these numbers we are quoting. They don't know that. Look at their children. Look how their children are. That is what they want to make the Southerner children to be. They don't just one person who is rich. That's all. He will be taking care of thousands of children whom he does not even know.
Please. Honorable, your question, please. We have very little time.
So my question now is that what exactly is Nina going to do to be credibility and viability? because it's expression of numbers. It cannot help us in this situation that is going on, whereby somebody was saying that the way the government is doing, borrowing money to feed people is a wrong thing. You borrow money to invest.
Not feeding people.
To invest. You borrow money to invest. Yeah, that's what they say, but they don't do it like that. Absolutely. Somebody was saying, you don't say you are borrowing money to look after the citizen, for the benefit of the citizen. You borrow money to invest so that it can benefit the citizen. And we are the NINAs. We should make a decision. If we know we cannot move on with what we've planned, then what's the benefit? That's NINAs is what everybody, people like me, are looking towards now, before we know the action to take.
Okay, let's Donald, thank you very much, Honorable John Augustus. Donald, did you understand that question? I think there was a couple of things that he was saying there.
Okay, I seem to understand the frustration, because what Honorable is looking at is that after all this and the experiences of most Nigerians working with these people, that not looking at numbers, they're not trying to bring any growth, they're just looking at how to take this money and sign these checks and make money for themselves. Like Dapo had given in his presentation, where they're borrowing so much money and they're not using it for what they say they're borrowing it for. So they're just borrowing this money for themselves and taking it for themselves. So the Honorable is frustrated and is asking what is NINAS doing to make sure that we can salvage this situation. And it's a good question, because at this point now, a lot of people also have those concerns. What NINAS is saying is that they are doing all these things because they have stolen our sovereignty. So they've taken our assets, and they can do what they like and borrow things and put us in debt even with our assets. And we absolutely have no control about our economic, social, and political future. So what NINAS is saying is that the first step to resolve this situation is to, first of all, recover our sovereignty. You know, when we recover our sovereignty, we will be able to determine how we want to be led. We will determine what we want to be. We will determine our economic future. We will determine our political future. And we are actually going to have the right to bring people that we will be able to hold accountable, because the current constitution that we have does not make these leaders accountable to us. They're only accountable to themselves. So the first thing is that NINAS is saying that we need to get back our sovereignty. How are we going to get back our sovereignty? The first step is to create the logjam that is going to cut the supply of that 1999 constitution that is giving them this power. So when that is done, we will now come up with our own constitutions and go for a referendum that will determine how we want to, if we want to renegotiate into this union, or if we want to fully have control over how we want to live our lives. So NINAS is saying that the first thing is for everybody to join hands to recover our sovereignty. And that is first, halting the 2023 elections. And that is why we are doing all these things, to activate the people power, to educate the people, to orient the people to know what we all have to do as one. And when we speak as one, when we have the critical mass, we are going to achieve this. And that is why we have to get everybody engaged. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, very good question and very good, great answer, Donald. It's about our sovereignty. It's about a nationhood. It's about self-determination. That's what NINAS is doing to change things around. We've got Stephen Demola, and Stephen is a very valued member of the NINAS team. So if you can unmute and ask your question or make a comment, that would be awesome. Welcome, Stephen. And by the way, you will be presented next week.
Is that right? Okay. Good to know in advance. First, I want to say a big kudos to our economics presenter for that brilliant and comprehensive economic analysis of the Nigerian state. It's very well reasoned and it speaks to the point. I just want to give a layman's response to Dr. Dupe's question. In as much as the presenter has even given an answer, I will just be quick to say that anything you hear from this location 419 politicians is political spin or speak ease.
Propaganda.
Yes, propaganda, thank you. In general, borrowing is never good unless your cost of borrowing is lower than other available opportunities, which means that you do have some cash somewhere, okay, that you actually could use without borrowing. So telling you, and usually when those politicians tell you something, it's a coded message. The kind of response that Fashola gave on that report is the kind of report that he gives to the illiterate market women who say, oh, they're trying to build a future for children. No, the break of that code is that they are mortgaging the future of the youth, period. But because essentially he wants to leave us with the impression.
And they're present, right, Stephen? And they're present. Over 40 million living in poverty. They already.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Case in point, President Buhari on some TV report actually told a CNN reporter that I think he allocated $2 billion for electricity power project, and the politicians took it and divided it amongst themselves. So what does that mean? That means they will go and borrow if and when they decide to implement another power project. Just like my colleague said about borrowing on recurrent expenditures, because that expenditure already been budgeted, funded, and it was corruptly divided amongst them. So when they give all those silly excuses for a municipal franchise like Nigeria, borrowing is a no-no. There's no way you can convince anyone with a half brain that I'm borrowing to protect the future of your children. So we need to watch out for those. A whole lot of them are coming, but you have to understand, some of these people, they work for a band of uneducated idiots who just force their way into the government. And they are the ones in control. So Fashola is from the South. So he has to dance to the music that is being played. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Stephen. That was a great answer. And just so everyone also understands what Ninas has done, in that constitutional force majeure that was issued on December 16, 2020, it did issue a caveat emptor for those who are planning on loaning money to Nigeria not to do so because the ethnic nationalities may not honor it. And then a couple of months ago, another warning was issued in the papers, all the major papers in Nigeria, and also most of the major outlets on the internet, to again remind them, no loans, because we will not honor those loans because they're not being used for the people. And I'm glad to report, as a lot of you have seen, that the loan pipeline is drying up for Nigeria. But we as a people must continue to speak so that we can take back our nations. As we don't have any questions, I see Citizen AY is with us. Citizen AY, do you want to say a few words before we end up? And, just so everybody knows, our freedom is in our hands.
Yes. Absolutely. Listen, I want to say, first of all, a good evening to you all, and what a great program you're putting on tonight. Look, the details and the data that the experts and the economists provided now are shocking. They are damning. They are things that make you sober. They make sober reading, and these are things that we should use collectively as impetus to drive us forward. We really need to get behind Ninas. I work with Ninas, with Jean and others, on a sort of media side of things, and getting information there. But what we need now is we need to deepen the interaction between Ninas and the people. Now, that's where you all come in. You and I, we will have to take ownership of this information that we've been provided with, and drive forward the need for us to go for a referendum. That need is ever present. It is crystal clear that if we do not take this collective action to go for self-determination as Southerners, we are sunk as a race, indigenous people. I'm telling you, we are sunk, and we cannot afford to leave that kind of prospect for the coming generation of Southerners. We simply cannot. It's on our shoulders now, and we must take on that responsibility. All of us, I urge you, let's redouble our efforts. I'm not saying it's about talking. What Jean said, if you got Twitter, if you can get in touch with get all these news broadcasting corporations, get the information out there, get to the UN, get to EU, get to all of the bodies. How about us thinking, okay, maybe it's time for us now to get a strong body of African connected Southern bodies together, Southerners working together and actually having a force that will support Ninas. I don't know. These are just suggestions. But one thing I do know that is clear, crystal clear, is that we are being fleeced left, right, and center by the Fulanis. And I'm telling you this, I am not saying this as to be separatists and all of that. But the fact remains the Fulanis come from Futajalon. These are facts that many of us are not aware of. Their great-grandfather they like to talk about is Uthman Danfodio, and his ancestry comes
Recording
from Futajalon.
stopped.
So these are things that we
Recording
need to
in
really hone
progress.
in on. I am urging you all, there is a lot of work for us all to do, and we need absolute commitment from each and every one of us. I urge you, the work that Jean and others are doing, you can see the glimpse of what is possible. The VAT situation is scary. That we in the South, we are propping up Northerners, and they are telling us that they are born to rule in our own land, and you are not using that as an opportunity. Are you not enraged? Are you not enraged about what's going on? And then Jean said something that was really shocking. The poverty is not only poverty in physical sense, it's actually damaging the brains of the children. Southern children, 40 million. 40 million. That is sobering read for all of us. I'm sorry if I'm getting into this, but there are things that you pick up and hear that you cannot ignore from this. We need to. I'm urging every organization. I'm calling you all. We need to work together. Let's get all our ducks in a row and get over this line. We need to get over that self-determination line. Get the referendum in place. Whatever it
sign
takes.
The petition.
Whatever
everyone
it
sign the
takes.
petition.
Yes, sign that petition. Whatever it takes, let's get it over the line. And you've heard what Jean said. Sign that petition. We must do this. Look, I could go on. There's a lot more to talk about. But first of all,
1 more minute.
Be aware of Ninas. Join in this struggle. We need you on board. Look at what they've used the Constitution to nail us to the ground. We must free ourselves. Nobody else can do for us. We must free ourselves. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Citizen AY. And remember, next week, the 30th, we're doing it 24/7. So I will be coming to you to talk about the time slot that you're going to be presenting.
Okay.
And Matupe, you're going to be on deck as well. Imoro, I see you out here. You're going to be on deck. So a lot of people here are going to be part of the presentation, because we are going to do a 24/7 as we round up the Victims Month. In this month of Nigeria turning 61 in a very woeful and shameful way, we're focusing on victims and their quite a lot of them, as you can see. So I'm going to take just one more question because we have to actually go. And Stephen, because you've asked a question before, I was going to ask Infinix, but you need to put your name and you need to be on camera for us to ask you. So while you're doing that, Stephen, if you have a quick question or comment, we only have 2 minutes and we have to go. So if you, Stephen, if you want to go ahead with a quick question or comment, that would be awesome.
Oh, you want me to do that? I can do that right now.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, okay, Jonah has, yeah, just give me a second. Let's go to Jonah because he has now put his name. Go ahead, Jonah, and then Stephen, you'll have a couple of seconds to make your comment. Go ahead, Jonah. Jonah, go ahead. You're already unmuted. We can't hear you. Jonah, are you there? Okay, go ahead, Stephen, while he's
his
trying
audio is, I think his audio is not connected.
I know. Go ahead, Stephen, while he's working on his audio. Go ahead, Stephen.
Recognition that the people we're dealing with have no respect for or understanding of the rule of law. Does NINAS have a plan B if the negotiation path that we're taking fails? And what can we do to implement that if we don't? Secondly, can we take this kind of a comprehensive presentation to the Alliance members? Thank you.
Yeah, plan B. Plan A is a plan B, a plan C, a plan D. You can't go anywhere if you don't activate the people. It's people that get freedom, period. I'll ask all of you, go and look at the French Revolution. They were dying on the street. People rose up and said, off with their heads. And I'm not saying we're going to off anybody's heads. I'm just saying. Because Marie Antoinette is famous for saying, you know, let them eat cake. And the people said, off with their heads. Okay? It's the people. All of us are the people. All of us are the power. And this knowledge is the power that is going to get our freedom. Okay? So that's the plan A, B, and C. And all this information, I was just actually messaging Dapo. We're going to distill it in such a way that it can go on its own, because when you have a lot of numbers on the slide, people are really not going to be able to understand it. So we're going to distill it down and send it off. And as Modupe knows, there's a lot of statistics that we're gathering up, and you're going to be getting a lot of that in the coming time. So Jonah, you have just one. He's still connecting to audio. So unfortunately, we're going to have to take Jonah's question next time. At this time, I want to say thank you to everyone that joined. Dapo, you did a great job. Tono, you did a fantastic job in talking about the NSAS and what really drove that movement and the impact of poverty on that. So again, we thank everyone. Next week, same time, starting first thing in the morning and going to the next first thing in the next morning is what we're going to be doing. So do tune in. We're going to be sending out that information starting tomorrow, so everyone will have it on their calendar and be able to join us. Again, thank you so much for all the presenters. And the next presenter should be getting ready, because I think it's going to be a fantastic show. So thank you all very much and have a great rest of your weekend. This is Nina signing off, and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, I stopped the live stream, and you can say hello to.
Good afternoon and welcome to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. We're back.